Hello everyone, welcome to another WiZDOM update. My name is Andrew Kirbank and I'm fortunate enough to be one of the National Directors of WiZDOM. Look, this video is number 7 in the Bank Secrets series, and that is just a series of 12 videos which is all the secrets that I've learned that banks keep from you over the decades that I've done business with banks. And hopefully by sharing these things, giving you a bit of a peek behind the curtain and understanding of why banks do what they do and how they do it, can really help position you into maximizing your relationship with financial institutions, and as a result of that, of course, driving a more successful property journey overall. So today's video is all about policy, and the secret is this. The banks will make it seem like, them applying their policy is the same as every other bank out there and their policy looks the same. Well, I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not the case. In fact, yes, I would agree that a lot of policy can look similar, but the devil here is in the detail. And when it comes to the way that your situation interacts with policy, just because it doesn't necessarily mix well with one bank and their policy and the outcome that they can drive, that absolutely is not reflective of what another financial institution may be able to do and the outcome that we can drive under their policy. So to give you a bit of an example of this, or a bit of a window into how this works, a good part of this is servicing. So you would know that APRA, for a long time now, has required any bank that is regulated by APRA to apply a 3% buffer when they are doing servicing or working out your affordability. So what I mean by that is this. Let's assume that you are going to get a facility with 5%. Well, APRA has said for the purposes of servicing and demonstrating your ability to repay, that has to be serviced, or the interest rate has to be assumed to be 8% for the purpose of servicing. So they add a 3% buffer. So if a financial institution is regulated by APRA, which is most of the large banks and a lot of the banks that you would potentially know off the top of your head, they have to apply that approach when it comes to working out your servicing. So the truth is though, is that not every bank and not every financial institution is managed by APRA. So there are plenty of banks, or a few banks, that sit outside of APRA regulation, and as a result of that, they don't have to apply the 3%. So if you went along with your situation to a bank managed by APRA and said, well, what's the maximum amount that I could borrow? They're going to give you a number, and you would reasonably assume that that's going to be a number that's a reasonable approximation for right across the marketplace. Well, the truth is that's not the case. If you take your situation, and particularly where you're an investor and have a reasonable amount of existing debt in your portfolio, and you take that to a financial institution that isn't managed by APRA and doesn't necessarily have to apply the 3%, well, quite often it can be a much larger number depending on your circumstance and what all that looks like. And of course, that then drives a bunch of other decisions, doesn't it? If I said to you, well, your budget for your next investment property is $500,000 versus 700,000, well, that can mean a whole bunch of different things. A different type of property, a different type of property transaction, a different suburb that you would invest in, on and on, these implications of that particular outcome have. Far-reaching. And look, the truth is, it's not just when it comes to servicing buffers. There is lots and lots and lots and lots of policy, which again, you would assume is very similar right across the lenders, not necessarily managed by APRA, but just the policy that they set internally. An example of that, for argument's sake, is rental. So in most cases, most residential property, a bank will take 80% of the rent as the figure for what they use for their servicing. Well, believe it or not, that actually varies. There are quite a few financial institutions that apply less than 80%. And equally, there are a few institutions that apply more than 80%, in some cases as much as 90%. Which again, if you don't have a rental property, that wouldn't make any difference to you. But if you have a lot of rental properties, and your servicing is really tight as a result of that, well, that 10% right across your entire portfolio can add up to a lot more income that they're using for servicing, and can result in a substantially different outcome for what your overall borrowing ability is. So look, does this fix all situations in every circumstance? No, of course not. But the real takeout from this is this. Just because one particular financial institution says no, or says a certain thing for your circumstance at this point in time against their policy, please don't assume that that is an approximation for every financial institution. The truth is, anyone that's been in property for a long time understands that finance is all about detail, and it's all about how that detail connects with policy as to what drives the outcomes. So again, hopefully that little bit of a window, that little bit of a secret into the way banks works, helps position you to be able to maximize your outcome and as a result of that property journey. As always, the entire WiZDOM professional team is here to support you. As you can probably assume or understand, we are very, very good at this because we spend every day thinking about that and doing that. And I would absolutely like to think that, we will sit down with you, work through your detail and what policy matters to that, and can we work with different financial institutions to drive the best possible outcome for your detail and your situation. So again, hopefully that was helpful. Thank you again for your attention. I very much look forward to catching up with you soon and get some more of these secrets out to you in the coming weeks. Thanks again and goodbye.